Hello, welcome back. And we're going to show you how to do the second cat muscle lab. And what we typically do is we start with the cat along its back, and we already did the hind limb, so we're going to do the chest. And one thing you need to be careful about is along the most, I guess we call it the posterior edge along the chest, thinking of it as a cat. I guess it would be inferior if it was a person. But we don't, there's a muscle called the xiphihumerales, and we don't want to rip that up. Oh, and the pector antebrachialis. But yeah, this. So down around there, you have to be careful, and I want you to pull towards the tail. Like when you're removing the fat and fascia, pull towards the tail so that we don't lift up a muscle that's going to be just about in there. And this actually is a female cat that has mammary gland tissue, and so that's a little bit unusual, but if you have a cat that has this tissue, that is something to remove. But what we'll do is we'll move from about down here to here, and when you're back at this edge, pull in that direction, and then you can pull in any direction kind of along in here. And you should eventually find 4 muscles along the chest. And then we'll also look in this one place further down the chest where there's the rectus sheath, which is a white area in between the abdominal muscles. And we'll nick into a little bit of the rectus sheath to get to the rectus abdominis. And then I recommend that you put the cat vertically between the people so both folks can dissect. And once you get the fiber directions that you've seen on the leg before, you get the fiber directions, and one of the tougher things is being able to distinguish the pectoralis minor from the pectoralis major, but we'll get to that eventually. And the later videos that identify the muscles are what you should refer to for all of that.
I think I used whenever I was dissecting cadavers, but it's basically called blunt dissection. Instead of using your scalpel blade, which is really sharp and easy to cut yourself and your muscles, you can pull this up, and instead of cutting like this, you're going to want to pull apart. So basically going like that. And what this allows for is you're not cutting into anything, but instead you're pulling apart the fascia, and it's a lot easier than cutting and seeing everything. And you can also see everything as well. So
Great job, thank you. And so, yeah, you can start to see some definition and some differences between the muscles, and you can start to see a line here of like where the pector antebrachialis is. That line there that you can see on the left and on the right. Yeah, so you see the edges of pector antebrachialis, and then the 2 pec muscles, and the xiphihumerales in this cat is quite dark. It's not always like that, but it's real distinctive in this cat. And so once you have those 4, then you're done with it. Another thing to be aware of with this lab is not ripping up this muscle. Now this has an obvious edge to it there. It's the edge of the latissimus dorsi, but sometimes it's not so clean if there's fat and fascia over it. And if you were ripping in this direction, you could pull it up. So when you're in this area of the cat, rip in that direction and you would avoid it. And then you eventually see this edge. So be aware that when you remove the fat and the fascia here in the shoulder, that there's going to be this white area in between the shoulder blades. And that's another fascia area. So be aware that it won't be pink, it won't be a muscle, don't pick at it. And when you have dissected enough and been able to identify the different trapezius muscles, and you've been able to identify the different deltoid muscles, then you are ready to be able to take a look at the deeper muscles of the shoulder. So we're going to change the way that we do one part of this dissection, and that's going to involve lifting up the latissimus dorsi and then cutting through it, reflecting it, just like we did with the sartorius. And that gets you underneath the latissimus dorsi. And then what we'll do is you put your finger under this area and then get underneath. And so we've already made a cut like this, but it'll be like this, and you just kind of put your finger underneath and then cut along here, and then we'll make our way further up, and we'll cut through this white area between the shoulder blades. And we know how deep to go because our finger is telling us, is kind of positioning us between these layers. And that gets us to these muscles that are associated with the shoulder, and we haven't cut through them.